Uh, hi there. Welcome. Today, I thought we'd be building a crane. You may have remembered me saying the other day that I'd sent away for some coaches and some static grass and other stuff, and in that order, I decided that I was going to get one of these. Alright, ratio kit. Hoist, trackside hoist, number 543 from Pico in England. Part of the ratio plastic kit model things. Comes in a plastic container here. I don't particularly like huge amounts of plastic, but what I do is I keep the plastic, keep that bit, and it's great for cutting out for windows on the scale scenes model cottages and anything that's got windows really. Bit of a difficult job trying to get things to stick to it or it to stick to things, but don't throw it away, keep it, come in handy. Right, so what have we got? We've got a little thing of chain for the hoist in a plastic bag. That looks very nice. Bit bright, needs to be painted obviously. We have one big sprue of all the bits, hopefully, that it says we're going to need. So that comes in there. And then we've got a sort of set of, it's an assembly diagram, isn't it? It's not a set of instructions, an assembly diagram. So that comes in the box as well. I can't actually remember how much it cost me, this, but it's going to be used on the railway alongside on the canal wharf. So we'll be using it on the canal wharf. Right, tools. I do not have a specialised sprue cutter. Stuff for cutting the stuff off the sprues. But what I have got is these Xuron, whatever they call them, track cutters. They're pretty good actually. No problem with that. Use those. Sharp knife. One of those. You can snap the blade off and that's alright there. And a small needle file for cleaning up any bits of flash that are on the kit. Looking at it, I can't actually see any flash there at all. So I think the plastic injection mould that they use for this must be fairly new, I think. The only bits we'll have to clean off obviously is where the actual parts that we're going to glue, the parts themselves, are attached to the sprue. We'll have to clean those off. And we've got some of that stuff. It's liquid glue. Had it for quite some time. I think it should be alright. And looking at this, let's read the always use a sharp knife to remove parts. Painting, apart from a knife you'll require a needle file, which we've got, liquid cement, which we've got, fine, wet and dry, I don't know what that's for, anyway, good selection of brushes, which we've got, alright, clean up the rough edges with wet and dry, okay, and paint all woodwork wood brown and dry brush grey, paint all gear wheels and steelwork black, and dry brush grey or concrete. Okay, so I think what we've got to do initially, first job, I think, is probably cut out the base. We'll cut the base out. Right, that's all up. Yeah, right. I'll show you. Right, we'll take that off the sprue. We'll take this off the sprue, and we'll take that off the sprue. I think there's a couple of plates here, isn't there? Where are we? These little bits, yeah. A little bit up there, and it's equivalent the other side there. We'll take that off the sprue to begin with. Alright, so I'll do that, make sure that they all fit together, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, right, we've got I've got 3 bits. We've got the upright piece, which arrives off the sprue in 2 parts, which you have to glue together. So taking the little bippies off that, just glued them together. I got the base, square, little hole in the middle. Seems to be an upside and a downside to that, so make certain that it's got some holding down bolt heads on the on one side. I don't know whether you can see them there. The other side is perfectly flat. We've cut off and cleaned up the crossbar, which is the the bit that sticks out like that. We've yet to cut off the that piece there, which we'll do next, and then we'll glue all those together. What I have noticed is the bottom of the upright, if you can see, has a small domed end on it, okay, and that is for locating in the hole in the base plate. Now that obviously has to be glued. The little half round bobble thing isn't big enough to stay in of its own accord in the hole, so it has to be glued, which means that the crane will not be capable of turning. Alright, so it's all glued together. It's not going to be able to be moved at all. If you do need it to be moved, what you'd have to do, I think, is to cut this little bipple off, okay, drill a hole and put a spigot of some kind in there, glue that in, and then glue this base down to wherever it's going to sit, drill the hole through whatever it's sitting on, the piece of wood, and then this, with its spigot sticking out the bottom, can stick down and be held quite firmly in the base plate and the wood or whatever it is underneath, and it will be capable then of being able to be turned if that's what you want. Don't think I'll go that far. I think a static crane for me will be fine. I just make sure that that is firmly glued 90 degrees to the base so it doesn't look as if it's toppling over. In the meantime, the next step is to paint some of the black parts on here. Okay, I'm not bothered about the wood bits at the moment. I shall put all those together and paint them all as one bit, but the black parts, which are the metal parts basically, it's said, which are where are we, that, well, everything that's on there, gear wheels and everything else is black. So what I have is, if I can find it, here we go. Right, I will use the life colour, weathered black finish for that. Okay, it's actually quite nice. It's a kind of a weathered black. So we'll paint all those bits and pieces whilst they're still on the sprue, making certain that if we have to glue any of them together, of course we don't paint where we have to glue. Either that or we have to clean the paint off afterwards. So I'll get on with that, paint all those bits. I'll glue the all the wooden bits together, which are these. Glue all those together, paint them, and then I'll come back to you. Alright, it's going alright at the moment. Right, so far so good. We've glued that together with the base. Just make certain when you do it that the top piece of plastic, you'll see on the end it has a little narrower section, yeah, on the end. Make sure that that is vertical, because you can fit it round whichever way you want. There's only one correct way there, and that's like that. Okay. There's a couple of pads that fit and glue either side of that little spigot to hold the front gear wheel. Okay. So that's that done. I've got to paint the bottom of that yet though. The base, okay, that'll be in a weathered black, and the whole thing has to be dry brushed. Apparently that's Humbrol's wood colour. It's called wood. Okay, it's a bit too new for me, so we'll be dry brushing that to give it a bit of age. I've glued together the 3 gear wheels. That's the largest of them. They just comprise 2. No, this one comprises 3 bits. That's the centre spoke section with the 2 rings that go around the circumference of the thing. So you glue all those 3 together, just make sure that they're all in line. Fairly easy job. We've got 2 other, I won't pick them both up, but you'll see one. That's one. Alright, that's 2 bits, that is, glued together. And the other one is 2 bits glued together as well. Given the bits that stay on the sprue, the bits that are on the sprue at the moment are these 2 bits here, couple of bits up here, and something somewhere else. Where is it? Oh, that one over there. The pin. There's a pin that goes through. Yeah, so they've been painted. Apart from the pin, I haven't painted the pin because obviously the pin goes inside something, so you don't see that. Oh, there's a hook next to it as well. A hook. The hook is next to it as well. Right, so that's been painted and set aside to dry. Right, what's the next step? It is to... We'll just let everything dry for a moment, I think. Alright. And then we'll come back to it after we've done a bit more. I'm racking my brains here because I thought there was something else I was going to tell you. But I can't for the minute think of what it is. No. Anyway, alright, we'll get back. When the paint's dry, you can start putting the thing together. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll be back in a truss. Welcome back. I've remembered what it was I forgot. Right, what we have to do is to drill some holes in the gear wheels, okay, through the centre of the gear wheel. We have to drill a hole right through the middle of that. Hey, can you see I've done it? Yeah, okay. It is indented to give you a start, okay, of where to put your drill. But what I use is one of those. It's a little handheld thing. It says a 1.5 mil drill you have to put through. So that's just about 1.5. That one. I think they may well be English, but whatever 1.5 is, that's about it. So support obviously the gear wheel before you start drilling it. Don't do like I used to do. Don't do it anymore. I used to support it with my finger and then put the drill through. I did it enough times, you know, until you get too many holes in your finger. You don't want that, okay? So just support it. I supported it on a bit of this white, a bit of cardboard or something like that, okay? And just move it backwards and forwards like that, and eventually you'll get through the hole, make the hole. That one and the, not the very small one, but the next one down, that little doofer. Alright, where are we? That one has to be drilled, so there's 2 of them have to be drilled. And then the pin goes through that into one of these, one of these square bits on there. The pin goes into there. I assume it just gets glued. As the thing doesn't actually turn around or actually work in any way, shape or form. I can't see the point of leaving the gears capable of being moved. I think I'll glue them. I'll glue the gears in place once I've put this pin through, and take it from there, I think. Right, that's what I remembered I've forgotten, so we'll get back when I've remembered what else I've forgotten to do. Okay, we'll get back. Welcome back. That, as you can see, is the finished object. It's actually it's quite good. It's not the same colour as the one which is on the paper there, because we're putting it in a coal yard, and it's very unusual to see wood that colour in a coal yard. So we've done it a brown colour and dry brushed it with black, and then in the crevices we've put some on top here as well, some pastel, shaved off a pastel and then placed on there, so it makes it look like coal. Right, oh, coal dust anyway. Did we have any problems with it? What you have to have is a 1.5 mil drill. You have to have one of those, and you have to have an incredibly small drill to drill the hole in the bucket here for the handle, which isn't supplied. The handle is a piece of fuse wire, they say. So if you get yourself a small piece of wire, the wire that I got was, it's not fuse wire, it was, you know those ties that you do up plastic bags with before you put them in the freezer, that kind of thing. They're kind of a plastic with a piece of metal running through them. Well, if you pull the piece of metal out, that's what I used. The one thing I did do is I managed to snap the hook which is supplied, which is an extremely fine small piece of plastic on the sprue. I cut it off the sprue, no problem. I then placed it flat on something and just was taking off a bit of the excess flash on it, and it just fell in two. So a bit brittle, I think, and a bit small. So what I've done is I've got hold of that piece of chain that was supplied. I've dry brushed that with some black. I've put the piece of wire through the end link on the chain. So you won't notice it. And done it like that. The as I say, the thing is not built to move. I don't actually know whether the original one was built to move. If it was built in this design, it doesn't look as if it would be. It looked as if it might be some kind of static hoist. But I think it'll do the job quite well. We'll take it up to the canal wharf, which we're in the middle of assembling at the moment upstairs. We'll do that on the next video, and you can see what you think of the whole thing. Let me just it has to be glued down because it's front heavy, obviously. Yeah, so that's what we've got. It's quite nice. There we go. How about that? Well, let me just. Right, we've got some light on the subject now, so that's it there. Okay. So I think that looks quite good. Personally, oh, you think it looks all right? I think the chain is probably still a bit shiny, isn't it? Do with a bit of black on that, I think. So, if you're going to make one, best of luck. Just be careful. Make sure you got your little drills. That's not bad. But like most things like this, it's probably a little expensive, I think, for what it actually is, considering it's just a bit of plastic. But when you think about the cost of the actual moulds to produce it, I mean, when I used to produce these moulds, I think we used to charge the equivalent of probably 1.5 years' salary of a skilled man for a mould which was no bigger than about 6 inches square for plastic injection. So they don't come cheap, these things, the moulds. And there's a few moulds involved in this. Oh no, probably one mould for the just one mould, isn't it? Yeah. So that would, and they got to write off the cost of that mug. It's been going for quite a while, hasn't it? Anyway, we'll pop it up onto the layout next time round and see how it looks. Right, okay, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon, hopefully. Bye bye.